Hi folks, welcome to today's Kendo rant. Hope you're having a good day. I wasn't sure if I was going to get one up today, but yeah, I've managed to put aside a little bit of time and thought, yeah, let's get the camera on and start ranting away. So obviously the last one I put up was a very disappointing subject. It was about the bribery scandal that hit the All Japan Kendo Federation's e-idol department. Just a quick recap: people were basically bribing the judging panel to award the grades of 8 Dan and the Shogo of Hanshi. Anyway, not a very nice subject. Hope we can talk about something a little bit nicer today. I'm going to, just before that though, I just want to kind of go over a couple of the comments from the last video, because I do think there were some interesting ones. Somebody commented on the video saying, this is the reason I stopped taking Kendo and e-idol gradings living in Japan. Once it got to the stage that I had to go to places to be introduced to examiners to be successful, in addition to my skills, I lost interest. That's really unfortunate to hear that. I lived in Japan for almost a decade. I did some of my gradings in Japan. The last one I did was 5th Dan. And there was none of that. I mean, I just turned up to I just rocked up to the grading. I mean, people knew who I was just because I was like the only foreign guy. I was the only like non-Japanese guy testing at that level. And I've been in a few competitions. So sort of people sort of knew who I was, but like I never was, it was never put to me that I had to go and kind of, what do you call it? Grind the sesame seeds, they call it in Japanese. They're kind of sucking up or, you know, doing that sort of thing. Nothing like that was ever put to me. I certainly didn't have to bribe anyone. I didn't have to pay anything. I didn't have to make face or anything. So it's really disappointing to hear that you experienced that yourself in Japan. Like I say, I didn't. Maybe it's because I wasn't grading for a high enough level. If I tried to take Hachidan or something over there, maybe they'd ask for that. I don't know. But in my experience, that hasn't been the case. I don't know anybody that has had to do that either. So yeah, very, very much a shame to hear that. A couple other things. There's somebody put, this might just be me being pessimistic. I'm not sure if I should say this out at all, but the way they suspend the punishment sounds like they're giving the high-ranking people a chance to quietly sort of end their lives, or and I think when you say end their lives, I don't think it means kill themselves. I don't think they're going to have to do seppuku or anything like that. But like whilst retaining their ranks to preserve face. But basically just to let them drift off into obscurity, I guess. Maybe it is. I don't know. Even if it is, I'm not sure if I agree with that idea. You know, but whatever. Lastly, what I think is strange is this news, in inverted commas, has been making rounds everywhere, but we haven't heard any names so far. No, we won't hear any names because it hasn't been like a criminal case, so no one's been arrested for it. So there's no obligation for them to publish the names anywhere of who it is. So I guess that's why that is. I mean, of course they could voluntarily do so. I'm just going to adjust the camera a bit there. They could do so voluntarily, but obviously they decided not to. So yeah, anyway. So that's that, right. So a couple of good questions that I'd like to deal with. Now I'd like to talk about something a little bit more positive than all this scandal. Let's get away with that. Okay, so first I got this one by email and I really, really liked it. I thought it was a fantastic question. It was off the back of a little discussion from a video I posted a while ago from, I think it was from the Tozai Taiko or something like that from years ago, where a guy does men nuki gyakudo and scores a point with it. And it really is a fantastic ippon. But there was a bit of discussion flaring up saying, oh, but he broke his posture and this sort of thing. And I think I mentioned the term Genmyouna waza. Genmyouna waza. That's Genmyo kind of means, if I remember rightly, I think the English translation tends to be mysterious. I'll put it in the dictionary right now. Genmyo. Obscure, occult, mysterious is what the dictionary comes back with. It's not a really common everyday word, but in the case of Kendo, when it says Genmyouna waza, I mean, we don't have any occult waza as far as I'm aware of. Yeah, I mean, what it means is, it means particularly difficult waza, all right? Not so much mysterious waza, but it means like really difficult waza. So this men nuki gyakudo, I mean, that's a super difficult waza. And that qualifies as Genmyouna waza, yeah, because it's not something you can just easily pull off. And the question that was put was said about Genmyouna waza, what qualifies, what doesn't qualify. I'm sure that the men nuki gyakudo video you posted is a great example, but I'm curious about more. I recently attended a Shimpan seminar, and the Sensei mentioned this as well. The Shimpan judge these more strictly or less so. Not sure if this is a Kendo rant topic or a Kendo show topic, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Right. Great. Well, okay, what counts as Genmyouna waza? Well, it's a little bit more complicated than saying this specific waza is Genmyouna waza, this specific waza is not Genmyouna waza. Rather, it's more about the actual situation that the waza happens in. Debana men could be Genmyo. It could be a Genmyouna waza if it happens at some sort of really amazing opportunity. You know, it could be considered Genmyouna waza. Hikigote could be considered Genmyouna waza if it's done from a very sort of difficult or an amazing opportunity. It's not. I mean, obviously, men nuki gyakudo, right? If you pull that waza off, right? If you make that waza happen and it's a good Yuko Datotsu level waza, that is without a doubt going to be considered Genmyouna waza. Okay, but you know, there's things that are a little bit more obscure. I think most people would consider a waza like Aigote men. So when the opponent attacks kote, you do kote men. I think that's got sort of a Genmyouna waza type feel to it. It's just not hard and fast to say that is Genmyo, that's not Genmyouna waza. So that's one thing to consider. It's all about the situation that happens around it. Yeah. In terms of the refereeing of it. Now, the idea of the reason the concept even exists in Kendo is because it's to help the Shimpan kind of judge it properly. So, okay. Essentially, we all have the concept of Yuko Datotsu in mind when we're supposed to be refereeing the Shiai, right? We're supposed to be judging it by these specific criteria. What it means is that when somebody does a waza that we could consider as a Genmyouna waza, it means we can be a little bit flexible on some of the criteria for Ippon or for Yuko Datotsu, all right? So if somebody whips out this amazing Dabana men, this amazingly awesome, earth-shatteringly wonderful opportunity, whilst riding on the back of a lion with laser beams shooting out of its eyes, then we're not gonna, the Shimpan are probably gonna forgive it if it's a little bit lighter than it normally would be, or if it doesn't, if it's an inch or so outside of the Datotsubu on the Shinai, for example, if it's a little bit deep. Often happens with Hikimen, with these amazing Hikimen at a brilliant opportunity. Sometimes it's probably a little bit closer, it's a little bit below what the Datotsubu should strictly be, but it can still be considered, again, it's kind of Yuko Datotsu, because it's a bit kind of fallen into the category of Genmyouna waza. So what it means is it gives the Shimpan the ability to be a little bit flexible on the criteria of Yuko Datotsu, based on obviously their subjective opinion based on their experience, and what they would judge as to whether a waza could be considered something that we would call Genmyouna waza. Okay, so it's a very difficult concept. It's quite it's hard to put down in words. Can't really write it down hard and fast in a book and say this is definitely Genmyouna waza, this is when you can apply it, this is when you can't. It's really down to experience and the subjective opinion of the Shimpan as well. Okay, so that's where I'd sort of go with that. Okay, so that's sort of where I am. Right, next one. I like this question. I like it rather a lot. It says, how people in places around the world can improve their Kendo without a sensei. I think in the case of many places around the world where dojos don't have sensei, only senpais running the dojo. All the best. Thank you for the show. Okay, so how do we improve if we don't have a sensei? Now, this is really difficult because this, again, could be interpreted in different ways depending on what your definition of what a sensei is, all right? If we're going to say, okay, a sensei is anyone above X Dan, all right? Is it anyone above 7th Dan? Anyone above 6th Dan? Anyone above 3rd Dan? It depends on the area, right? First of all. Secondly, especially as your question sort of says, they don't have senseis, only senpais. So it depends on what level you consider somebody a sensei and when you consider them a senpai. Now, the concept is very different in Japan, all right? Whether you're a sensei or not isn't necessarily tied to your grade. It's not even tied to your experience. I've known people that are not super experienced and they're kind of lower grades. And when I say lower grades, I mean in a Japanese dojo, 3rd Dan is a low grade, okay? You know, they started Kendo after becoming adults. They got to the grade of 3rd Dan. But in the dojo, because they are sort of responsible for teaching and helping teach children, well, they're referred to as sensei, okay? Because, you know, they are a teacher. Okay, and in lots of ways, from a child's point of view, all adults are considered sensei in a lot of ways, and in a lot of places. Okay, so that's one thing. But what we're talking about now is in the West. Now, let me give a bit about my experience. I started in a small Kendo club. And it was a great club. I really loved practicing there, and I really miss it. I really miss it. My original Kendo teacher at the time, he wasn't super high grade. He wasn't like 7th Dan or something like that, but he was certainly qualified to put me through the basics, and set me off on the sort of path. And then it was, you know, I was very lucky in that I got sort of picked up for the national team when I was like 21 years old. It was a lot of travelling for me, but I was able to get taken under the wing as well of our coach, who was a Japanese guy at the time. And he, you know, he really took me under his wing and helped me a lot with my progression. But I think what you have to do is I mean, if you've got somebody that's teaching you, you have to not. It depends if they've got more experience than you. I think you want to get away too much from sticking to the word sensei and senpai first off, because if you've got someone senior to you that's there and they're operating a club and they're able to give you advice and help you practice, then you should sort of follow their example and listen to them, and then do as much as you possibly can to get out and travel to other dojos if it is possible. It depends on what country you live in. Obviously, I know like you know, if you live in a massive country, you know, like the US, if you live in Canada, Australia, Russia, these massive countries where the next dojo could be 5 or 6 hours away. I know that's not such an easy thing to do. But if you do have the chance to go to another dojo and maybe learn from other teachers as well, that's also super important. Get to seminars and events and stuff like that so that you can get as much as possible under your belt. But the other thing that you need to do, and this is a definite, and this is something that was massive for me in my own improvement, and even now, because frankly, you know, for the last sort of 4 or 5 years, even when I was in Japan, I didn't have a specific sensei, you know, because it's hard to have that relationship once you become an adult. I ended up on the other side of it, where I was a teacher. I was a sensei, you know, particularly to the kids. So it was kind of a little bit difficult for me to find somebody that I could say, oh, that's my sensei, and that person could be not really responsible but have a big consistent impact on my own progress. Didn't really happen, so I had to take it upon myself. So one of the things that I did do is a lot of mitori geiko. Mitori geiko means they're watching practice, and it is so important. Okay, can't stress it enough. In fact, I've thought about doing a Kendo rant just about mitori geiko because we just don't do it enough. All right. Mitori Geiko means, you know, we've got YouTube, you've got loads of resources now, and I'm not just talking about the Kendo Show, although it is a fantastic channel, you should subscribe. And I'm not just talking about this channel, I'm talking about, you know, there's loads of Shiai videos. I'm posting them up all the time as well on the KendoStar blog. And it's not just watching them, right? Watching them and going, oh, wow, that was good. You know, oh, wow, yeah, he was really fast. Wow, he's amazing. It's not just that, right? What it is looking at it and then examining it and building a mental picture in your brain and comparing that to what you want your Kendo to look like. And you have to know what your Kendo looks like, all right? So get your phone or get a video camera, whatever you can, down to the dojo and get it on film and watch it back so you know what your Kendo looks like, all right? Compare it to what you want it to look like, and you have to then make a mental effort consistently every time you practice, yeah? Every time you're doing a bit of Kihon, every time you're doing Kirikaishi, you have to have that mental picture in your head, that mental blueprint, right? I've written a blog post about this too, actually, in your head whilst you're practicing, and you have to be working towards getting your Kendo towards that. You can't just, I think it's very easy to pass off responsibility onto a sensei. Oh, well, I'm not good enough because my sensei's not good. Or I don't have a sensei, maybe. You know, you have to take that responsibility yourself. And one of the ways, like I said, is through Mitori Geiko, where you go and you build that mental picture, watch as much content as you can, find the players that you really like, particularly ones that you think maybe are a similar body type or height or something to yourself, and think, okay, this is how I want my Kendo to look. This is how it does look. How can I make those two things get closer together? All right? And you have to focus on that at every single practice you go to. Yeah, you can't be lazy, and I don't mean that in a negative way, because it's not lazy to not know about it, yeah? This is why I'm telling you, yeah? You have to kind of have it in your brain, okay, I'm going to practice Menuchi. Right, how does the Menuchi I want to do look? Right, okay, that's what I'm going to try and emulate now, that's what I'm going to try and copy, that's what I'm going to try and achieve now in my Menuchi practice, right? And if you do that, then without a doubt you'll improve, without a doubt, yeah? But you really have to be passionate about it. You have to put a lot of energy into it. And that has been a large part of my own progress, actually. Certainly between, I'd say certainly for the last few years. But it's massive. It's a massive thing, and it's a big difference between. Again, I'm going to do a different rant about this, but it's a big difference, I think, between Kendo in the West or outside of Japan and Kendo in Japan. Because Kendo in Japan, they all start as little kids, like my kids. My kids started when 7 years old, and they're in a dojo surrounded by other kids and older kids, their senpai, and their senpai are really, really good. There was some really good kids there. Then they go to a shiai every weekend. Every week we go to a shiai, we take them, they go in there, first sort of 6 months, they go there, she go out, Sonkyo, stand up, get battered, go home again, yeah? And then she started to get better and better, but every time we go into that stadium, the tournament arena, it was filled with some of the best Kendo kids from all over the country. And this is the sort of thing that kind of just naturally seeped into her consciousness. Yeah, and she kind of was able to start building her own picture of what Kendo should look like. But we don't have that sort of exposure, all right? So you've got to do it yourself. You've got to go out and get it yourself. And that's why this Mitori Geiko is really the key to improving in places around the world without a sensei. And frankly, it doesn't matter if you've got a sensei or not. You've got to be doing that if you want to get better. It's as simple as that. Okay, so that's about it on that. That's I think I've kind of hammered that point hard enough. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you'd like me to rant about next time. I really love doing these. It's a great feeling to be able to kind of interact with all the comments that I get. And I've had such a great response to it. I really am grateful for that. So thank you. Like I say, leave a comment. Let me know what you'd like me to rant about next time. I just finished filming the Kendo show over the weekend. We filmed some great episodes. I'm really looking forward to bringing those to you. It's going to take a little bit of editing though, so be patient. Yeah, but there's some great episodes. I'll give you a clue. We're talking about kaminouryowaza and RANT, which is super cool. I'm really happy with how they turned out. Don't forget to shop at KendoStar, because that's what keeps the lights on. Keeps me filming these. I say it every time. You should know by now. KendoStar is a place to shop when you're looking for kendo gear. I run the place. It's a full-time business. It's not a part-time operation. It's top quality gear. It's specifically designed or curated with people practicing kendo in mind. I practice kendo. You know how passionate I am about kendo. I want you to love kendo as much as I do, and KendoStar is really all about that. Kendo is life. That's our motto. So yeah, choose KendoStar when you're looking for new gear. All right. So with that being said, I'll see you next time.